The Who and How Club is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, as you all know, I've had my experience in therapy before. My journey to therapy, so to speak. I've shared it countless times on this platform as well as through my social media platforms. I've had a psychologist and I've also had a psychotherapist. And through those experiences, I was able to learn how to deal with and address some of the emotions that I never knew I had suppressed throughout my entire life. There were moments when I didn't want to be here anymore. I guess you could say I was suicidal. Growing up, I was pretty much forced to grow up faster than I should have at the time. So a lot of the things that I went through as a young individual, I didn't really deal with those emotions because I was too busy experiencing and quote unquote growing up faster than I should have. And now that I'm at the stage of life that I'm at now, I find that those emotions are all coming out in different ways. So I'm at a stage of life where I'm taking everything that I learned through my journey of therapy and putting those things to good use and putting them to the test. Steel sharpens steel. And, it's not easy. Every day isn't perfect. You're going to still have these challenges through your journey, just like I am. But now I'm equipped with all the tools. So when these challenges come up, I know how to deal with them and address them. And you too can have that same experience if you're interested in starting your journey to therapy, just like I did. So starting with BetterHelp is a great way to start. BetterHelp actually connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give you helpful, unbiased advice. You can start with BetterHelp and do it all from your phone or computer via phone call, video chat, or messaging, however you feel most comfortable. It's really the easiest possible way to start speaking with a therapist. So what you would do, you'd first go to their site. And if you look at the description in today's episode, you just click the link, betterhelp.com/whohow. And what you will do, you'll answer just a few questions, and then BetterHelp will match you to a professional who has years of experience helping people with challenges just like yours. So once again, you'd go to betterhelp.com/whohow, and you'll actually get a special discount on your first month of therapy when you click that link in our description, or just go online and look up betterhelp.com/whohow. And you'll be able to be matched to a therapist usually within 48 hours. So you can actually get started pretty fast. So once again, start your journey to therapy just like I did. And you can start putting your skills and the things that you're going to learn through your journey to the test. Once again, that's betterhelp.com/whohow. Get a discount today and start your journey to therapy. Now let's get to today's episode. It's going to be a good one.
Who are you?
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you? Who are you?
Who are you?
Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?
I love his hat.
Mm-hmm.
Le Canadien. He looks familiar.
Have you ever been to the shop?
Here?
Yeah.
Red Nails? Oh yeah.
So maybe you've seen him here then.
Maybe. Yeah, that might be it. I should shout out Les Canadiens sont là.
Les Canadiens sont là. Which one is that?
That's
The
what
team?
That's
Which
what
team is
that's
that?
what the Habs, the hockey team,
Okay,
Montreal
okay.
Canadiens fans.
Okay.
That's one of their sayings.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a sports guy, so I wouldn't know that.
It's all good. I like the hat though. It's a black and white Habs hat.
But you're bringing up French. I went to French school, so
Are you bilingual?
I've been pretty much. But
Nice.
I've been like doing refreshers
Right.
because I haven't had French friends since.
Makes
So
sense.
it's like you lose it a little
Oh,
bit, you
yeah.
know? Like, who am I going to speak French with if there's no one? When you're not in school and...
No, for sure. It's something that you have to be immersed in. or
100%.
you kind of lose it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because then you also lose the bilingual title. It's like, am I working in the field that, requires me to be bilingual? Like,
Exactly. Yeah. No, I get that.
so, yeah.
Also, too, it's kind of like it's hard to stay current
Mm-hmm.
with like any kind of changes in the language, like slang and stuff, if you're not talking all the time. So
Facts. It helps when I go to Montreal and see girls. That's about it. that's all. Whenever I go to Montreal with my friends who don't speak French,
Yeah.
it helps us at the doors and stuff.
Oh, for sure.
Because Montreal could be a little
it's got
judgy.
It can.
Oh, you don't speak French? Okay, get out of here.
Yeah, but if you try,
Yes.
then they give you
True.
the benefit.
True, they'll give you the black.
Maybe the deeper into the province you go, but at
Yes.
least in Montreal, if you give us an honest effort,
Yes.
and then they'll just switch to English if they know you're struggling.
Facts. Exactly, because they speak it anyway. I don't know why they do that to us. It's like little Europe over there, which I don't mind, but
Yeah.
so judgy.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Who and How Club. You know the slogan. You are the Who and How Club. I am the Who and How Club. And we are the who's and how's of this world. Without you, without me, there is no we. So while we're here, why don't we pick each other's brains, create together, learn from one another's experiences. And the only way to do that is to converse and to share and to pick each other's brains and to just sit and listen. People say communication is everything and they think it's just the verbal piece, but there's a listening piece. Actively listening, not waiting for your moment to respond, but really taking someone in when they're speaking, and you wait your turn to speak, and you just go back and forth like a ping pong tournament, or match, back and forth, and that's how you feed one another. When you're sitting across from someone, you're just speaking and sharing, and that's what we represent here. It's your boy Arys Dejan, and we're back. I've been craving interviews like these for a while. We did some stuff online and virtual over Zoom and stuff, but that never hits the mark. It's all about that in-person vibe and energy, and we're really happy to be back to that today. So in who how fashion, we're going to just talk about why we're here today, why we're on location, en route, or not en route, but on location, right? That's the proper saying, like when you're
I'd say
shooting in a different space and stuff like that. And we have a lovely guest with us today who's a creator, an artist, and we're gonna get to know who he is. Today is special as well because we're shooting out of my home comic book shop, so Red Nails 2. I've been going here since I was a youngin', and I used to go to one of the locations in the North York area, but I've switched over since my guy Sam switched over to this location. So we're located at Jane and Bloor today. We're recording, we're filming. We got Eugene in the background. I just want to shout out all the staff who allowed this to happen. This has been in the making for a while, and we hope that it's the first of many. All right, so if you're into comic books like I have been since I was a youngin', my mom got me into movies and cartoons and just comic books and keeping up with that. I used to draw and stuff like that, so just being here today in this shop, it means a lot, and we're gonna set the tone. But let's get to our guest for today, and we'll do a little intro to him. We have Steve Bynoe to my left. Say what's up to the people, Steve.
What's up, everyone? Hope everyone's enjoying Saturday.
Some hand claps for Steve. Steve is a writer, artist, and publisher, and he has his own publishing company for comic books, Comics Asylum, which we're going to speak about. He also launched his latest comic book series called ATRIUM, where he also launched a Kickstarter for the latest issues, and we're going to dive deep into that. But welcome to the club, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
How are you feeling today?
It's fantastic. Totally enjoying my day here at Red Nails, getting to meet all the fans, new fans of ATRIUM, people that are coming in a comic book store. These are my kind of people. I've been a comic book fan, oh my God, for as long as I can remember. Sam and Vito have been totally inviting, allowing me to, be here on a day such as today to kind of get the word out for the book. So
yes,
can't complain. This is kind of like what every creator kind of strives for.
And to be honest with you, I feel honored with you even allowing us to sit down, like just making this like a big event, you know? Like it's your book. We share some common, energy with the shop and coming here with Vito, Sam. Like it's like the whole crew's here. That's how it feels like. We're crewed up today,
Yeah, for sure. And it's all about, the people that surround us. You can do stuff, but when it's in a vacuum, it's not as fulfilling. So when you can, interact with people and kind of share common things and then also learn some new stuff, that's what it's all about.
How long have you been coming to the shop? Because that's something I don't know.
Probably about 2 years on and off. I've gotten to know Sam and Vito really well over about the last year and a half.
Yes.
Maybe even a shorter amount of time. It's crazy. Since post-COVID, time just kind of moves at a different pace, at least for me. But it's a totally inviting space. Got great books here. Vito and Sam are super helpful. And then my neighbor, Ernie, who lives kind of kitty corner to me.
He was here earlier,
He's a superstar comic book collector.
Yeah.
This is his store. So, just following Ernie.
Based on observation, everyone that comes to the shop, they have a guy, Like Sam has been my guy since day. And that's why I have followed him to this location, because he was at the mall. And that's why I was always going there. But once I found out, like, Sam was moving, I got to move with my guy. So who's your guy? Who's the main, like, who brought you in kind of thing, or the guy you've built the deepest relationship?
Vito and I have some great conversations. So we were chatting about stuff, some life stuff, things related to comic books. And over the times that I've been here, he's been really welcoming, even helping to set up today's event. And then just talking about life and, what it's like being a creator. And so it's just one of those kind of spaces that you kind of enjoy coming to, pick up whatever is, hitting on the shelves every Wednesday. And I'm a firm believer of supporting your local comic book shop.
Facts.
It's one of the lifebloods of the industry. Yeah. And then when you've got great people running them, then it just makes it easier.
I call it therapy. Like when I come here on a weekly basis, it's like I equate it to like even going to the barber shop. Like it's like you're around the boys, you get to vent about certain things that you're passionate about. It's a safe and brave space. You know what I mean? So it's like a form of therapy at times when coming to the shop, or like going to the barber shop, let's say. Because you're going to have conversations in here that you wouldn't normally have in your day-to-day, right? But you, in your line of work, you're probably having conversations about these things all the time. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, for sure. When I'm not doing the ATRIUM stuff, I also run Comics Asylum with Vaughn Joseph. He's my partner in crime at Comics Asylum. And we do, podcasts and we do live streams. I stream with Mega J Retro.
Yeah.
On Wednesday nights.
I listened to a couple episodes, actually.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun. Mega J brings in the toy angle and the movies.
Yes.
And comic book angle. And, we fill in and have a good kind of rapport with some of our guests. And so talking comics.
You guys have some debates as well.
We had a fire one, a couple of days ago with our friend Hugh Rookwood. And
he brought up Arcane and stuff like that. Is that the latest one? Episode 27?
I don't know if we spoke about Arcane, but we had a Batman. We had a Batman back and forth. Yeah. And it was kind of interesting because there are some Batman stands out there, and then some people who are like, Batman, what a Yeah. So it was good. It was a good conversation. But I enjoyed talking to some of the leaders in the industry when it comes to like the creative side.
Yes.
And as well as just like the average fan. So the people that, tune into our live streams are great to interact with, and they've got some great points.
Yes.
And are wells of knowledge, right? So, it's just amazing how open this kind of subject and genre has become.
Yeah,
because
it's a community.
It's absolutely. But when we were younger, we were kind of in like silos. It might have been like the one or two people at school who collected comics, right?
Oh, and I have some takes on that piece too, especially being black and you weren't. Some folks, I don't think it's as heavy now. Well, before we dive into that, because that's a talking point, can we just cheers to the shop? Welcome to the club. Welcome back, everyone. It feels good to be back. Feels good. You good? We good. We're about to go deep. So And like, I have some questions I want to ask you, but let's go back to that point. So there was a time where I find, based on observation, I'm 35, right? So
Okay.
it may not be heavy now because like everything is so popularized, right? You got social media, everyone's into everything, and you can see who's into what. But I find that like there was like the stigma where like black people were not really into comic books or like into like the, you know, the stuff.
Right.
How was that growing up for you? Like being in like nerd culture and stuff like that. Like were you ever like not ostracized per se, but like no one ever believed you that you were into that kind of stuff at all?
Oh, they knew. I was drawing like in public school.
Yeah.
So like I'd draw on top of my notebooks. Drove my mother nuts. You know, I was a huge Spider-Man fan, so I was always buying comics. People knew that I loved Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And you know, like just pop culture in general.
Yeah.
Like I was still into sports. I, you know,
Yeah.
played enough soccer as a kid, and I was lucky because it wasn't anything that like there was no gatekeeping.
Yeah.
And I didn't grow up. I grew up in a neighborhood that didn't have a lot of black people in it.
Yeah.
But I was lucky. I had a couple of cousins who were up here for a few years with their dad, who was in the Barbadian Foreign Service, and you know, I picked up my comic book collecting habits from them, which was great. Shout out to Peter and Spencer, and from then I just kept with it. And I guess I was lucky in that, like, one of my closest friends when I was young, we were Star Wars fans, so you know, we would buy the action figures and, you know, have our time playing with them and all that kind of stuff. Shout out to Dave McCallum on that. And it's funny because he ended up in film and I ended up in comic books. So you can tell that those formative years kind of, you know, blazed the way for us, even though it may not have been as direct a route for myself because I went into teaching first.
Yeah.
But it was never a case where I kind of had to hide my love of pop culture, my love of, you know, all the, I guess back then you would call a nerd.
Right.
But I wore my nerddom with pride.
So it was overt. You didn't have to hide it or anything like that, or like get
No.
picked on at all or anything
No.
like that.
No.
Just like like our favorite characters within the books that we read and indulge in, whether it's through movies, whatever, pop culture stuff. Like, just like those characters have origin stories, I feel like even when us getting into those things, pop culture and comics and books or whatever, there's an origin to that because something triggers that interest or that intrigue that keeps you engaged. You mentioned like your family from over there. You kind of kept with that energy, right? Because did they have books that they introduced you to?
Oh, yeah. Peter was a big Iron Man fan.
Yeah.
Spencer loved Thor. And then I guess they also had like Avengers and Justice League. I think those are the kind of books. FF. You know, they kind of picked up stuff that was popular during the day.
So that was your origin and introduction to everything, yeah?
But also like the Saturday morning cartoon
Oh, yeah.
for Spidey.
Oh, yeah.
The 60s cartoon.
Yeah.
And then Batman.
Hated it.
You hated it?
Because it's not my era. I think it's easy to say you hate something when it's not your era, you know?
Well, look, it's mad dated, but you cannot
Right.
deny
No,
the
for
theme
sure.
song is
I'm with
mad
you.
iconic.
I'm with you.
It's mad iconic.
It's necessary in the ethos. Like it
Oh, yeah.
it has its role, right? But
Yeah, you're probably a Spider-Man 94 guy.
I'm a
right?
90s. Yeah. I love that the X-Men and Spider-Man back to back. Like Saturday mornings was that for me.
Yeah.
And Ninja Turtles and stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the 90s. Like, to be honest with you, like cartoons were like the gateway for a lot of us. And you know, if you love the stuff, you ended up watching it even if you aged out. So like I obviously I wasn't born in the 60s, but by
Yes.
the time the Spider-Man cartoon had come on,
Yes.
it was basically in reruns.
Reruns, yeah.
But it was still a Saturday morning staple.
Yeah.
And like cartoons, there just weren't as many back then. And
True.
then we didn't have cable. So
True.
if your local station, I used to watch them out of CHCH, which is out of Hamilton. If you were able to catch them then, that was it. But there was no YouTube. So
Yep,
if you missed
yeah.
it,
That's all we had.
You missed it.
All we had was I can't think about going back to a time where you missed something, and if you missed it, you missed it. Like you can only cross and wish upon a star. Cross your fingers and wish upon a star that like
Right.
it'll pop up. Like, remember TV Guide?
Of course.
That will tell you what's coming on for the week and stuff, right?
Oh,
so
yeah. Especially looking out for whatever cover had
right,
someone that
yes,
you liked
yes,
on it.
yeah. Pamela Anderson, Baywatch.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
90210.
Oh, yeah.
Melrose Place.
Yep.
No, that's good. I mean, my origin came from my mom. I mentioned earlier, like she, giant size X-Men, and
wow.
she just like wow, like I was.
That's pretty good.
She just put me on. Like I think watching shows and movies just became a part of our family thing. We all gathered around. We watched movies. We taped movies and rewatched them. Remember taping things?
Of course.
And like that was
trying
just
to get the commercials cut out too.
exactly right. Like we were all editors. We didn't even know. Like we were before Photoshop and all these video editing things. We were doing it prehistoric, man.
Yeah, it's true.
I miss, and then like even like on radio, you would get a tape.
Oh my god, trying to make a mixtape for a girl, and cutting out the commeral, or the DJ talks too long into the song, that always used to bun me, but whatever.
Facts. A lot of things used to bun me, but then when you realize like you kind of miss those pieces, like what's a piece that you miss from, let's just say the 90s, or like before this era that we're in now, where like it's so accessible to things and the digital age. What's something that you miss from those days, let's say?
You know what's really, really interesting? It's kind of weird, but I miss the smell of comics, because like the paper and everything's different. I miss the smell of old school comics.
Yeah, like it's like it had like a newspaper feel to it, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like,
and I'm remembering that scent as you're speaking about it. Like, yeah,
I miss that. I also miss, because like, I was a big sports fan, collecting cards and then reading the stats on the back and chewing that god awful gum.
Yeah.
That powdered stick of whatever it was.
Or having time to actually do that. Like we don't even have the time to just sit and read stats. Like sit in the room and just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of weird, because you look back on those times, and just like to delve into sports a little bit.
Yes.
It's like you would read the paper to look at the box scores. Like, how many points did like Isaiah Thomas get? How many rebounds did Rodman get?
I don't see newspapers anymore.
Right?
Like, where are they?
But I just remember, like, we used to get the Toronto Star.
Yep.
And my father would be, or my mom would be reading, mostly my dad. And I'd be like, I want entertainment, and I want sports, and I want lifestyle. Give me those, because I wanted the comics. Yes. I wanted to see what the movies were all about, and then I needed to read up on sports.
Yes.
And I remember taking those sections, and you just, you spread them out and you read them, and you just read the box score, which now, it's all online. And there's a, it's kind of interesting, and I think people who are of a certain vintage would understand what I mean when I say this.
Yeah.
We've lost the tactile nature of some of the things that we consume, because everything's like moving towards digital. So like opening a newspaper, hearing it ruffle, like going to buy a magazine, like like if like the Source or whatever was coming out, and that's where you went to go get like the pictures.
Listen, I have at home I have boxes of like my collection of Source and Double XL and Vibe and King magazine. Right. But no more. Yeah. If I want it, like I'll go to, even going to those websites aren't as fun, because you had it in your hand. Like there were certain sections in that magazine that you looked forward to every month. Like a magazine being released monthly, like we had to wait for that, for new updates, for new albums coming out, etc. Like I just type in my phone and we have it. So like I don't like to devalue it and say nostalgia. Like we're changing so drastically, where like those things, like you're saying, the newspaper, the scent of the comic books, like these new kids will never get a chance to experience that.
Yeah, unless they've got, parents or grandparents, and they can
who are hoarders.
Yeah, who go into like, have their collection and allow them to go into the collection, right? Like, read my Hulk 181.
but that in a way, in a sense, that's how it happened to us, just in a different way. Like my mom had her books, and it was like passed down. So it'll be passed down in a different way, I guess. But things always get passed down, right?
Yeah, and like even though I'm kind of like getting all kind of nostalgic, tripping through time.
What the hell?
Toronto drivers.
Yeah, you're right. Like
someone crossed the street or made someone
best
mad.
time to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but even though I'm getting all nostalgic, it's like things change, right? And you know, you can't be resistant. I'm not saying
inevitable. Yeah.
It's inevitable. I'm not
Yeah.
saying throw stuff out, right? But like, I just think of like, even as a creator, it's so much harder. It would have been so much harder back in the past to do stuff and get things out there
Yeah.
than it is now, because the
Yeah.
technology allows you for it, right? Like even this setup right here,
Yes.
this setup would have cost like an arm and a leg back in the day,
Facts.
right?
Facts.
So, you know, I like the past. The past is great. It's also viewed through inexperienced eyes because we think of it as a kid, right? There's a good chance that your favorite player of all time played when you were a teenager,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
So-
it goes back to the Spider-Man piece, right? Like, I hate that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to use that word, but it's like, it wasn't for me. But what was for me will always be held in my heart. Like you said, you missed the Saturday morning routine, like coming home
Right.
after school and watching Power Rangers. Like there was this whole routine that we were in during that time, right?
Yeah.
Like after school, you know what time things are coming on, you know what to look forward to, what time dinner is going to be made, because like, you know what I mean? Like there's just these pieces that obviously we'll never get back. The past is the past, but how do we hold on to those? How, from your perspective, how can you hold on to those?
Well, you
Or
know,
can you?
I think you can. Like, you know, if your memory still works, that's
Yeah.
one way.
Yeah.
Buy the physical copies of the DVDs
Yeah.
before the streaming services, you know,
Yeah.
decide not to play them anymore and
Yeah.
you can't get them.
That's weird to me.
It is kind of weird that you've bought something, but really you're only licensing it. But
Yeah.
that's another topic.
For a time frame, and then you
Yeah.
relicense it to show. Like, why can't I just have access to these at any point in time?
Right. And it's just one of the things where it's like, if you still embrace it, don't walk away from it, then you'll always be able to revisit it at some point. And the kind of cool thing about how things are nowadays is that you don't have to wait for like the 35th anniversary of something to see it again. You can kind of watch it on demand in some cases if it's available. I remember back in the day when you had to get, like, if you were like a fan of manga or anime, you had to go to a certain shop in
Yeah.
downtown
Yeah,
Toronto
yeah.
to find,
Because manga
to-
wasn't everywhere. It
to
wasn't
find-
easily
yeah.
accessible. Yeah.
to find the OVA, right?
Yes.
So like I grew up on Battle of the Planets, which is, you know, Gatchaman. And to get the OVA in I think it was in the 90s, you had to go to a special store to find it. And good luck finding the OG series. It was hard to find. Now, you can find it.
Before we go deeper, just to close off on that topic, what is something that you're still holding on to and you haven't really not let go, not because you have to, but just something that keeps you still intact with or in tune with your quote unquote past? What's something that you haven't let go of, whether it's a process or something you've collected over the years and you haven't thrown it out? Like, what's something that you're still holding on to?
My 7 or 8 boxes of comic books.
The comic books.
I still got them.
Yeah.
And it's funny because, you know, I had this conversation with Vaughn, who I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
And
Your partner in crime.
yeah, and it was like, hey, there's a good buddy of mine. How you doing? And
You want to join the convo? I brought a third mic.
Yeah, but he was like saying I had doubts about something,
Yeah.
and he was like, "Oh man, you've watched enough TV and read enough books that you know what you're doing," and he
Right.
was absolutely correct. It
Right.
was one of those things where, like, when you're immersed in something for so long, it kind of sticks with you, and so if you don't let it go, we were talking before we went live.
Yeah.
About you speaking French, and if you
Yeah.
don't do it all the time,
Yeah.
it's like a muscle. It kind of like it atrophies and
Yes.
gets weak.
Yes.
And so if you keep in touch with that kind of stuff, you don't have to like be stuck in the past, but you can use it to inform not only your present but also
Yeah.
your future.
It's moving with you. It's like concurrent. It's like
Yeah.
you're not letting it go fully. Hopefully you'll pass it down to somebody. In some way, shape, or
To
form.
somebody.
Yeah.
And you know, the reality of it
experience.
is that not everything is supposed to continue, right? Like there are certain things that have a time and they have a place. You know, that's why Smithsonians and museums exist. But you know,
Everything comes to an end.
everything to an extent comes to an end.
Yes.
And it basically comes down to how technology
Yeah,
not
'cause
only
it-
evolves, but also what kind of technology are we
Yeah.
willing to accept?
Yeah.
Because humanity is filled with instances of us not picking the right tech.
Picture? Yeah.
Right? We picked the wrong tech.
I heard you. Yeah.
Red ray versus blue ray. You know,
Yeah.
we kind of at times we pick stuff that's just economically viable for whatever the means of transmission.
And I like that you're using that in the tech sense. I'm gonna bring it over to like the life sense, like the deeper like, you know, interactions with people, relationships that you share with people. You know, sometimes they end and maybe they resurface and they transform or evolve into something new. Like I like that you said, not to an extent. Everything ends, but to an extent. You know, it doesn't always have to like that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes things resurface or they transform into new things and they come back around and they're expressed or shown in a different way than they were before.
Yeah, like
Relationships are like that, right?
relationships are like that. There's someone in the store that I've known, you know, over half my life.
Yes.
A dear friend of mine.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where like we may not see each other as much as we did when we were in high school,
Yes.
but absolutely for sure when we see each other again,
Yes.
it's like no time has passed,
Mm.
right? And if you have those kind of bonds
Connections,
and
yeah.
connections with people, it's kind of like family. And there are different types of family. The people you go to work with every day, if you have the kind of job where you're amongst people all the time, they're your work family.
Mm.
And then you have your OG family of high school mates, or
Family you
friends.
created.
Created family, absolutely.
Yep.
And then there's the family that you share DNA with.
Mm.
But in the end, it comes down to experiences and memories, right? And if you can keep building those memories, if it's possible, then you know you're in the right path. And so some of it is not just the things, the material things we have, but also the events that you experience together, like music. I guess like the cartoons that we're talking about.
For sure. Yeah.
It hits,
Don't get me started on that.
it
yeah.
hits differently when you're a teenager.
Yes.
Right? 'Cause
Yes. True. Yeah.
Like the first
the
time.
perspective you're indulging that in is like
Oh, absolutely.
you're being exposed to something you've never been exposed
For
to.
sure.
before,
Like the
so-
first time a sick beat drops.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It blows your mind at like 12, 13, 14. OGs are like, yeah, man, they played that beat long time ago. That
Facts.
was from my
Facts.
original song.
Facts.
So
Facts.
that song for them, it doesn't.
That's been sampled 100 times.
Absolutely. It doesn't
I was
resonate.
there when it was the original.
yeah,
You know?
when they
Yeah.
played that with an instrument.
Facts.
kind of
Facts.
thing.
No words on it.
No words, whatever.
I was at the day party. I was at the block party.
Or I
When that
bought
dropped.
the 12-inch record
Yes,
that came
yes,
from.
Yes.
Right?
I was carrying crates with that.
Absolutely. And so it resonates for the kid differently than it does
The
for the
adult.
adult
Yes.
who is listening to it. And so like things like music, even things like even certain movies that are like cultural touchstones, it connects to a time
Oh yeah.
where it was like a
Oh yeah.
first,
Oh yeah.
right?
Oh,
And so you get a little bit older, you get a little more jaded.
yeah. Yes.
It's just because you've seen so much.
Yes.
Right? So people will talk about Taylor Swift.
Yes.
But other people will go, well, Mariah or
Yes.
Michael Jackson.
Yes.
Or James Brown before that.
Janet Jackson.
Or Janet
Tina
Jackson.
Turner.
Like
Yeah.
every generation has theirs.
Yeah. Hold on one second. Does his friend want to take a picture? You were saying?
Yeah.
Tell him come in. We'll still continue.
Just trying to get someone to join the live.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Don't get me started on music because I do music myself, and you become the old head even when you're not even old nowadays because things move so drastically and vast. Like it's fleeting. It's like here 1 second, out the next.
I'll give you a perfect example we were talking about. Like, I didn't watch X-Men in the 90s.
Okay.
Right? I think I watched the first couple episodes.
Yeah.
I was getting into university, so I was kind of aging out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I wasn't crazy for the animation. Mm-hmm. But now
It seemed a bit dated back then. Even
it just to me it was a little bit wonky.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I thought the Spider-Man animation and character designs were better, but you know that's neither here nor there. But X-Men '97, the reboot from last year, pure fire, absolute fire.
Is it last year already? Or is
Or
it this year?
Maybe it
It's
is this year. It is this year.
Yeah. Don't
that's
scare
right.
me, man. Because
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, that's right. It would have been earlier
this
this year.
year. Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's absolutely fire. And so I guess in a bad way, it makes me not want to go back and watch the '94 series even more.
Right, because it set a new tone. It
'cause it
set a
set a new
different
tone.
tone. Yeah.
You know, can't complain whatsoever.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're tuning in, We just want to say thank you. If you've heard something so far that you resonate with, anything that's inspiring you inside, or something you even disagree with, that's fine too. If you're like 13 years old and you're like, what are these two old fogies talking about? I'm only 35. They say 30 is the new 20. Not when you go to the club. When you go to the club, 30 is the new 60, okay? Don't go to the club when you're 30s. But in these conversations and when reflecting on life and experiences, we're not that old. So don't look at us like that. We're just sharing our perspectives on what we experienced growing up. So if you heard anything, just vibe out, leave a comment in the section, DM us. You're going to get a chance to find out, how you can follow Steve, and you could touch base with him directly. And we're going to learn about ATRIUM and all this stuff behind us, but we're still going to go deep. So if you're with us, thank you. Continue with us. Steve, in Who and How Club fashion, we usually start with these questions, but because you and I are vibing out, we're just going back and forth on things.
Right.
Just for a second, forget about your name. Forget about what you do, forget about the attributes, those titles, whatever that you've given yourself or that you've earned throughout your life when you're creating in your business, whatever. I'm going to ask you, who are you? And tell us who you are without those other pieces involved in your answer. We know your name. Your name wasn't even given to you. We didn't get to choose our names. Right? Unless you changed it at some point. So forget that. That's not who we are. That's another title. We know what you do, right? But when people define themselves by that takes away from the essence of who we truly are, or how we can really define ourselves. So share with the people, the club members, who are you? How would you answer that?
Just a regular guy. Just a regular guy that, enjoys being around people, enjoys sports, likes to be creative, and just hopefully someone that has, made people's interactions with me be smooth and rewarding in some way, right? I'm many things to different people, son, friend, cousin, business associate. Like I'm all those things, but for the most part, you strip away all the titles. It's just I'm just a guy that likes being around people and enjoying life and what people bring to me. Right?
How do you feel like you know who you are? Like with that response, which I appreciate. When you ask yourself, like, do I know who I am? Do I, at what point did I figure out myself? Do you feel like you figured yourself out, or there's still more to layer back and peel back? Where are you at on your self journey right now with knowing oneself?
I joke with my friends that chronologically I'm on the back nine, so, halfway through my game of golf of life, but I pretty much know who I am. Like I know what makes me happy. I know what makes me sad. I'm pretty tolerant, so I don't really kind of get too riled up when things don't go my way. I think that most people would probably say the same things about me.
Yeah.
Like who've met me throughout, whether they know me for 5 minutes or 50 years.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where, I've had enough life experience, enough, a few wins, some losses, like everyone else's challenges, like everyone else. Like my story is singular for me, but my story is not unique.
How did you become who you are today? Like when you think back, like what brought you here to this moment that we're sitting next to each other, and we're going to talk about one of your creations, latest creations, and just thinking about who you are as an individual, the Steve you are today. How did you get to that point? How did you become the you that you are today?
Not to, take anything away from Vin Diesel, but it's about family. And so it was my family, whether it's blood family or, the ones I've collected along the way, either through public school or junior high or work. they're the people that not only you could gain inspiration from. Like my parents, played a big role in that. It's also when you can bounce things off of them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And sometimes you're going to make mistakes. More often than not, you will, but you hope that you make fewer mistakes the older you get. And
Especially
also,
not the same mistakes, right? Like not repeating.
No, unless they're happy mistakes. Right?
Give a definition of a happy mistake. I love that.
To be honest with you, like anytime you play a sport or you do something creatively,
Yeah.
Your mistakes are actually what makes things special.
How else would you learn if you don't make a mistake?
You stay within a framework.
Yes.
Obviously. But, some of the best mistakes are things that we have as staples of life. Potato chips, I think, is one of the biggest kind of foibles. That wasn't an intent, but then ended up now being, billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
And so if you're not willing to fail and take chances, and this is kind of stuff I always used to push on my students, you're always going to be in a safe space. And not everyone is set to take those kind of chances and those risks.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But like if you're settled in certain aspects of your life, then you can take risks in others. As long as you're not like, going to put yourself in jeopardy or harm.
Someone else. Yeah. I found it unique that you mentioned that happy mistakes piece, because I have something at my place where it's on the wall. It's like a little, no regrets, just happy mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you have to dare to be different, because whether it's in walks of life or in government or in policy or whatever, if you don't challenge the status quo, you don't get change.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I think as you're speaking, I'm thinking about moments that
We're going to take a quick break with a podcast, because he can't be on the podcast, but he does want to take a picture.
Okay. We're just 2 seconds, last point, and then as you're speaking, I'm just thinking about, like, lately I've been trying to promote this. I don't know why, but it's how I feel about, like, if you think about all the times you never gave up in life,
right?
If something came up challenging tomorrow, why would you even think of giving up if you haven't already given up on the 100 things that have happened in your life already? Like, you're still here today, right? But it's hard to wrap your mind around that, because sometimes something will happen and you're not happy that it's happening. It's not how it didn't go the way you expected it to go, et cetera, right? So it's like, I think we need to remind ourselves that these challenges are going to happen regardless. Don't give up, because you haven't given up yet. So why would you?
But also think of where we are. We're in a store filled with stories where every 3 pages there's a challenge. There's probably 1 billion challenges in the boxes behind us. And on the shelves. And so, like, if you're a Spider-Man fan, you can gain inspiration from those stories. Right? Like, you just look at the modern myth making that is comic books, and they help to inspire. And it's not just, comic books. It's like TV shows, whether you're a Skywalker fan or you're a Picard fan. We all look to those heroes, and they're the 3 color heroes on the comic books. And then they're the real heroes that are, sometimes it's family, sometimes
I love that everything's fitting right now. This is perfect.
It's family. Sometimes it's a teacher that you may have had. It may have been a coach that you had. If you're lucky enough to live in a place where, the town mayor or whoever the government officials are putting things in place for you to have a better life.
That's like art.
Those are your heroes.
That's art imitating life, or vice versa, even, right? Because those stories that we're reading they stem from somewhere, right?
Absolutely.
And people go through those things. I like what you said. Like, your story is keeping your individualism, right? That's your journey, but it's not unique. Because so many people are going, even those characters that we read, they're fictional, but it's based off of real life stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love that. We're going to take a quick break, club members. If you're joining in, thank you once again. Steve is here just chopping it up with us, and we're going to dive deep into his creations once we come back from the break. But, yeah, stay tuned in. 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 St All right, folks, welcome back to the club. We're still sitting here with Steve Bynoe, and it's your boy Arys checking in. And yeah, we're having fun today. We're at the comic book shop, Red Nails 2. Shout out to the staff, Vito and Sam, for allowing this. Shout out to Eddie as well. He's not here today, but he'll be watching this from afar. We got Eugene in the back handling our tech for today and the imagery and everything. So it's going well so far. How you feeling, Steve, so far?
This is great.
We going too deep for you, or we're okay?
Nah, man. No, I got my life preserver on.
You're a deep guy. You're a deep guy, though. You're a deep guy. I could tell. There's a lot of substance here. So thank you to everyone. I know some of you shared on the live that there's a lot of background noise, and you really want to, you can tell that we're having a great conversation and you want to indulge. But I promise you, in a few days, you'll be able to watch and listen to this in its entirety in the proper way. Because, yeah, I know from your guys' end, you're probably hearing a whole bunch of conversations in the background and stuff. But don't worry. You're with us. Just watch us. We're watching you. We're here with you. And we're going to continue the conversation. So, Steve, let's jump into ATRIUM. Right. Let's talk about the book and why you're really here today and set up at the shop, and maybe just give a brief history on what ATRIUM means to you, why you came up with the title, and why this is the book and your creation that you're pursuing at the moment.
ATRIUM is a long gestating idea that started maybe about 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it was, it kind of sprung forth from a friend of ours out of the collection of guys that are actually doing ATRIUM now as a comic book, who was looking for an idea to do a short indie film, a horror film. So with that in mind, we set out to make a story, that could probably fit within the budget of an indie film. Yeah. And ATRIUM sprung forth from it. It had a different name back in the day, but and it went through a few different kind of gestations and rewrites, yes. and we changed it over the years, looking for an artist. Yes. Yeah. Once we decided to make it as a comic book. Yes. But then what happened was we decided, okay, let's pitch this. Yeah. So we decided to pitch it to Image, and they didn't take it. We pitched it to a few other companies, didn't hear back from them. And that, makes total sense because we weren't big names or players in the industry. Right. And then the artist that we had initially, a good friend of mine, still a dear friend, like a brother, he decided that he didn't want to do the project anymore, and we were kind of stuck because we had an idea, we were kind of set on how we wanted to kind of execute it, and then it turns out that we had to change it the last minute. So it changed. I went home and I kind of slept on it a little bit. Yeah. And then we went to. I thought about the story, reworked it, and came up with the name ATRIUM because of how the story is centered around a heart and delivering the heart with these two paramedics, Naomi and Darnell. And so it's got, obviously double meanings. Is there some... So I read issue 1. Actually, before I ask that, did Comics Asylum come first? Yeah. Then ATRIUM, right? Yeah. But it wasn't... It didn't spin out of, like, your need to just have your own independent imprint because folks weren't really... like you're pitching things to folks and they're not taking it up, so you're like, you know what, let me just do my own thing. Did it come out of that? Comics Asylum initially started as a entertainment website as well as a digital magazine. Okay. So what we were trying to achieve with that was just, this is before but it also serves as the imprint to for your books as well. Like is ATRIUM under Comics Asylum publishing, right. Not just Comics Asylum. Right. So Comics Asylum came about, Vaughn and I came up with it. I think around 2014 or so, and it was like we were gonna just start talking about comic books, right? Because it wasn't part of the landscape. Like the MCU hadn't blown up yet. You weren't getting the Hollywood Reporter talking about who's going to be in the next Fantastic Four movie. Yes. It was our little space, right? So anyone who was a comic book fan, it was hard to get this kind of information, and we started to get on certain like publicity lists for companies, and they would send us the material. So we decided, all right, if they're sending us their news blast, heck, let's just start talking about it. So we started as a digital magazine.
That's beautiful.
Had it on sale. You can look on your iPad. We had like trailers and stuff in the magazine. Vaughn's, really good design head. So we went down that road. And then we decided, you know what? Why don't we get into self-publishing? Because around that time, too, I started to self-publish my own work as novels and novellas. But also what was going on was the access to be able to produce these kind of things became more accessible. Right?
Yes. It's easier to be independent today than, I guess, maybe a decade ago even, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. And then also, too, with social media, we were talking about how things progress and whatnot.
Yes.
With social media, how would you find an artist? Right? I guess back then you would have maybe gone through DeviantArt.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm sure that's still the way it is now, but a lot of people put their stuff up on multiple sites. There's Instagram, and then X and stuff exists as well too.
Even like on, I think the site is like Fiverr. Like a lot of independent artists put their work up and people commission them to create things for them and stuff. Like, how did you find your collaborators for your book? I know you draw and illustrate yourself, but you have other folks with their hands on ATRIUM in different roles. So how do you build a team like that? How do you get your Avengers team together for a project such as this?
Well, we were lucky in that the majority of the team was put together years ago.
Yes.
We were working in a studio here in Toronto, and the studio didn't work out, but we all liked each other. Like there was no.
You still stayed.
We're still
connected,
friends. Yeah, connected. So we're talking about bonds that last go back like 20 plus years.
But did the person who lost the interest in the project, did they come back around at all and continue in any way, or no?
No, it was one of those ones where it was just like a great handshake of like, this isn't my vision for it, and I'm going to walk away. And I think because of our friendship. Like, obviously, it's not stuff that you want to hear as you're on the cusp of getting something ready for the public.
Yes.
And we'd done a full book as well, too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where, in a weird way, and I guess we were talking about happy mistakes.
Yeah. It was meant to be.
This was just meant to be because the story is actually stronger. Not that what we had before wasn't great, but it was one of those.
It forced you to do.
It just made us go back and add more and rework things more. So the stakes were bigger, and the outcome, we think, will have a larger impact for readers. And so I found Lucas Philappi, who's our phenomenal artist. I found him on X, of all things. Right? There was another writer who was putting out an all call for artists for one of their projects. And so he responded in the thread, and I showed his stuff to the guys, and I'm like, what do you think of Lucas? Like, what do you think about this? Because of the way that we had changed things, there was there was like a grittiness to his work.
Right.
That we're like, I think this will fit ATRIUM.
It is very
perfectly.
gritty. I was reviewing issue 1 again. I've read it like a couple times in the past week and change because Vito lent me his issue number 1. I'm happy I didn't get the other issues, but because it left me wondering. Like, I started to use my imagination on where the story is going to go. I don't want to guess anything because if I do guess right, it'll give away the following issues. But is there a deep? You were saying there's like a double meaning, but is there any supernatural piece attached to this at all, or is it more gritty crime?
When I give you the pitch, you'll know how supernatural it is.
Okay. I know it's deeper because I'm like, the way each panel is expressed and presented, to me, it was like a film. That's exactly how a film would start, in my opinion. I'm more on the movie side and TV side than comic books per se.
Right.
So I was visualizing it and following it as like a film, and that was helping me, move through it.
Well, I'm happy you say that because Peter, the co-writer, and myself, we write screenplays as well too.
Yes.
And I'm more into comics than Peter has.
Yes.
But he's always dabbled in it a little bit in terms of like as a reader.
Yes.
And the one thing that, especially since we started it out as a film kind of concept, we were able to maintain that. And it's one of those things where we wanted to immerse the reader in a world that seemed familiar. not just in terms of story, but also in medium,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So looking at, because
Visually,
we're very
yeah.
visual
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
nowadays, right? And so looking
Very
at
gritty,
it straight
very
off,
cinematic.
yeah, by
with the
looking at it
panels,
straight
yeah.
off, you're like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I can see this as a film,
Facts.
and
yeah.
then that adds a little bit more to the atmosphere.
That makes me think of like when you're creating a song, you know, like I think that some artists are like, you know, they're trying to figure out if this is going to be in the clubs. Will this
Right.
be a banger?
Is this gonna be a
this a
banger?
radio track? Is this for the girls? Like what piece does this fit into? How can you digest this, right?
Totally.
Where does it fit in? So I think it's all art anyway, so it's cool to hear that piece. But yeah, that's how I was following it, and I'm like, I want to see what's going on, because I'm already assuming what's gonna happen next, or who this heart is actually for, this who they're trying to transport this thing to, right? So
Right.
clearly this person is important
Very.
off of issue 1. That's what I've gotten. So I'm excited to get into the other issues. Tell the people and the club members, boys and girls, how they can support ATRIUM and read the issues right now, and how many issues you have out right now.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let them know what ATRIUM's about.
Yeah.
And then I'll let them know where they can get it. So ATRIUM is about 2 paramedics, Naomi and Darnell, who are tasked with delivering a donor heart to a special patient. En route, they are intercepted by a group of deadly assassins who just happen to be vampires.
I didn't get that part.
Yeah, that doesn't show up yet in issue.
Oh,
Spoiler alert for issue 1.
whoever that mystery woman is, and I already like her. I think she's sexy, and I
Yeah.
didn't even get the full picture of her
we
yet.
made sure that
She's a bad chick.
we made sure that we made Ramona, to have that, to have all of that.
Why did she have to be named that? I hate that name. Evil X. Sorry,
bro.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
But anybody named Ramona's a bad chick, though, so it's okay.
she's
It's
a
okay.
she's a baddie.
She's a baddie.
She's a baddie.
So she's a vampire?
I can't
Don't
say.
tell me.
I can't say. I'm
But
not.
her
I'm not
crew?
gonna say anything. I'm
Okay.
just saying that she's got vampire assassins out after Naomi and Darnell,
Hmm.
and we did issue 1 as a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So we did that in November of 2023.
Yes.
And we were successful. We met our goal, and we printed those issues. Learned a lot. Kickstarter is a beast. Anyone who's a creator out there who hasn't done that,
Yes.
sometimes just making the book's the easiest part.
Mm.
It's the fulfillment. It's the social media aspect of it. It's just everything involved with Kickstarter is tough. And we asked around to get some advice. Creators out there who had done Kickstarters in the past,
Yeah.
were really forthcoming in giving us their advice and best practices.
Can you explain to the club members the reasoning behind the Kickstarter? Because we hear why people have like GoFundMe's and Kickstarters. They're raising money for a specific purpose. So what is the piece that you guys need for that Kickstarter to be in motion?
So we got the Kickstarter.
What is that helping with? Yeah.
We could not only have like almost like a built-in fan base who are interested in the book,
Yes.
but also pay for things like printing and shipping.
Yes.
And that is a huge aspect of the distribution and creation of a comic book. Just making it, anyone can make it, so to speak.
Yeah.
As long as you have the skill set or have the wherewithal.
I was just going to say that.
To put together
Yeah.
the team.
Yeah.
You can make it, but then who's going to read it? Who's going to see it?
Facts.
So
it's a campaign.
yeah,
pretty-
it's
in a
absolutely.
sense. Yeah, yeah,
So it's
yeah.
a serious campaign. And then what we realized after doing the first one is that shipping is a beast. And so to get your book into people's hands,
Yeah.
it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
And if we were doing it as 5 issues, right? That was the plan. Then that means people are paying for like the shipping for each issue. And depending on where you live, that could be an extra $50 to $70 on top of paying for the cost of the book. And so we decided to do issues 2 and 3 as one campaign, which was the second one, and we did that in the spring, and that would then allow people to save on shipping.
Yes.
So it also worked out the way that the issues went, that each issue kind of ends on a cliffhanger,
Yeah.
kind of like those old serials.
As it should be. Yeah.
Right? And also, like, the books that I read as a kid, every issue was like next month.
Next, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. Monthly. You had to
Right?
wait.
Next month, boom. And it'd be like either a huge villain or
Yeah.
so-and-so's falling off a building
Yep. Yeah.
or somebody shows up and there's mad peril.
Or you see the end question mark.
Right.
Like, it's never ending, right? It leaves
Exactly.
you guessing, yeah.
So we tried to do that. And then just the way that the story broke down for Atrium,
Yeah.
by the time you got to issue 3, there's a huge twist in the story that works perfectly with the campaign. And then what we're doing for 4 and 5, which is the Kickstarter that's on now currently, the Atrium 1 to 5 Kickstarter campaign, it ends the story and then puts 4 and 5 together.
And Atrium will remain a 5-part series for now.
This story
This piece
is 5.
but you're building a universe.
There's a universe that's already built. Peter and I have discussed
Beautiful.
how things are going to work.
Yes.
I will say, I don't think this is a spoiler alert, especially if anyone's read 1 and 3. Don't fall in love with any of the characters
Oh, okay.
because
Could be anthologic.
it wouldn't necessarily be an anthology,
Yeah.
but like things happen, and so characters aren't guaranteed to
go.
get
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
end of this journey. But after 5, a world still exists. Things still have to be done, and we are totally prepared to explore it.
So people watching, they'll be able to see the link come across the screen. Just let the people know where they can get Atrium and support the Kickstarter right now, Steve, if you can. Just let them know.
Yeah, that'd be great. So you can get it at Kickstarter. Just go to Kickstarter, type in Atrium. You'll see 3 campaigns. The first one is just number 1. The second one is 1 to 3. Those campaigns are over, but you can get not only the first issue, the second and the third issue, but also then support the production of 4 and 5 at the Atrium 1 to 5 Kickstarter campaign. So you just go to Kickstarter, type in Atrium 1 to 5, or even just put that into Google or your search engine, and then that will pop up. And then there you can choose from the different reward tiers, because you can get digital versions of the book through the campaign, or you can get physical copies of the book, as well as past issues.
It's beautiful, Steve. So, you see the link come across the screen right now, club members, so you'll be able to support Steve. We're set up in the shop today. A lot of people have shown up in the flesh to support the book. They've picked up a few issues, and they get some free items as well. They're supporting Steve. He's made some sales today, and it's just really been a beautiful thing. So, again, follow the link that you see at the front, or look in the description for today's show notes, and you'll be able to click directly, and it'll take you to the Kickstarter and how to support Steve directly and the whole Comics Asylum platform. All right, so before we close off, we're going to dive into a couple segments here at the Who and How Club. So I hope you're prepared for this, Steve. We have a little, I call it like a lightning round, Who and How lightning round,
Okay.
where I'm going to just throw some things out. And the first thing that comes to your mind, you give that response or a response to those things. It could come at you in the form of a question. It could just be one word. It could just be me still picking your brain, but it's very short and sweet. But the first thing that comes to your mind, share that with the club members. You cool with that?
Okay, I'll try my best.
All right. Hold on, there's a lot of background noise.
We have a young entrepreneur
Yep.
coming in
Yeah.
for doing things for a good cause.
Just wait 1 second, yeah. Always.
As a former
Always
teacher,
perfect timing.
as
yeah.
a former teacher,
Yeah.
this totally
And
hits.
I like it. I like
Oh,
being
totally.
yeah.
Love it.
Okay, we'll work through it. So, when you hear the following words, just tell me what's the first thing that connects for you or that comes to your mind, all right? Creation.
Opportunity. And what I mean by that is I'll use, because I play, I didn't play hockey as a kid, but I play pickup hockey with some guys, and I'm not terrible, but I'm decent enough. And when you come to creation, every time you get the puck, you have the opportunity to create. You just don't know how the play is going to turn out.
Right.
And so that's why I say it's opportunity. You have a chance to score. Every time you have a blank page, you have the opportunity to make something special.
Art.
Life. And what I mean by that is everything that we have, chairs, comic books, toys, cars, they all come from a drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Can't make something without some
Buildings,
sort of schematics.
everything. Yeah.
Absolutely.
They're all artists.
So an architecture firm has a ton of artists in there. They may not be making pop art, but that drawing is vital to what they're doing.
What's your favorite movie?
Ooh.
Of all time?
My favorite movie of all time. That's so hard. I'm going to say one and then go, I should have said that.
Mm-hmm.
How about I'll go Empire Strikes Back. That's one of them. It's not the favorite, but it's the one that I can think of now. Empire Strikes Back.
Biggest challenge when creating something and bringing your idea to life? A new idea to life.
The biggest challenge.
You.
You know what? It's just I think the challenges that I do have when it comes to being creative is not getting bogged down with too many ideas. Right? Like, I'm not saying throw them out, but it's like, oh, we can do this, or oh, we can do that. Right? So it's that.
Being a man?
It's interesting. Being a man. The first thing I think of is responsibility, I guess. But that would be for humans too. But yeah,
For everyone. Exactly.
For everyone.
Community.
Necessary.
What's the last lesson you learned?
Wow. The last lesson I learned. That some people just won't accept that Batman can be beaten. That's the last lesson I learned. Vito, that's for you. Yeah.
Describe the moment that we're in right now. How would you describe it?
It's special. If you'd spoken to, even 29-year-old Steve, much less 8-year-old Steve, to be in a comic book store with a book that I helped co-create, talking to people such as yourself, introducing my idea to, people that don't know me from, anyone on the street, and, giving me some time to kind of, not just explain who I am and talk about the great work my teammates are doing, but to be part of this fantastic industry. I wouldn't necessarily believe it. We're all aspirational in a way, like, whether it's a job or someone that you want to meet and, build a life with or whatever, we're all hoping that you get the chance to do it and that it's successful. And, getting to live what I'm living right now is pretty special. It's a lot of fun.
What's next?
Issues 4 and 5. That's next. There's always another story. Peter and I are always cooking up stuff. I've got some stuff that I created. I did some novellas back in the mid 2010s, and I want to turn those into comic books. One's Chronocari Alpha, about two kids who were born at the same time. And when they collide in gym class, they unlock their ability to control time. And then there's another one, which is an adaptation of a novel that my uncle wrote in the early 80s. And it's about a Barbadian secret agent. So I want to turn that into a comic book.
The fanboys and girls are going to ask this, DC or Marvel?
I'm a Marvel guy, but I love DC. Like, Spider-Man's my jam.
You like Marvel comics but DC movies or whatever?
I like DC animated.
Okay. Facts. I wouldn't disagree with that. Yeah.
DC animated, that Justice League stuff is off the chain.
Always.
Batman usually has a decent the animated series. You can't go wrong. Batman usually comes correct with their animated stories. Yeah. But when it comes to comics, Marvel. I'm a Spidey guy. Yeah. It's Marvel, like Hulk. But then DC, I love Superman, I love Flash. Teen Titans is it for me, especially Marv Wolfman.
What about Young Justice? Young Justice, did you get into it?
That's on the DC animated tip again.
Yeah.
Right? Young Justice is great. Like,
Yeah.
I know I have some friends that were kind of like, it never matched season 1,
Yeah.
but, overall, can't go
But
wrong.
they listened to the fans with that one because they wanted it back.
Yeah.
I can commend anyone who brings something back based on what the fans want, and I appreciate that.
And it doesn't usually happen. Studios don't
Facts.
usually listen to them.
Exactly. Now we're gonna get into the penultimate segment of the show. It's called Ask the Club. So the guests that come on the show, even if it's on the fly, they get an opportunity to pose a question to the club members so that they can interact and like you're asking them something, or you even posing a question to me. Because it gives that opportunity to just go back and forth. We always promote that we're not speaking to people on the show, we're speaking with people. So it's a mutual conversation, we're speaking with one another, we're sharing, and you get those opportunities to ask anything as well. So yeah.
My question to anyone out there is, with the crowded landscape of all the storytelling that's out there, what story and from what angle have you not been served? Like, so what kind of story is
Not
like,
being told.
is on the horizon that you wish were being told? Doesn't have to be like from a property, like an existing IP.
Yeah.
But is there something that creators or studios haven't delved into that you would love to see?
And for the people, the club members listening, what's one message you would leave for them? If there's another person who's coming up with an idea like ATRIUM that wants to bring their ideas to life, and they're about to launch their comics asylum, what sort of advice or message would you leave with those individuals that are out there wanting to create just like you and I?
Dare to dream. It's something that I would have told my students, and I'm sure they've heard it several times from me in the past. It's okay. It's okay to dream. It's okay to follow your heart. Obviously, as an artist, sometimes you got to look at the economics of things before you dive into it headlong. But if it's something that you really want to do, then find an avenue to get it done.
Once again, Steve, I appreciate you. Let the people know where they can find you, where they can find ATRIUM one final time, and we'll close out.
All right, so you can find me on Instagram. It's at Steve Bynoe Art. I'm also on Threads and Twitter. And you can find me at Comics Asylum as well, comicsasylum.com. That's the main website. And then Comics Asylum also has its Instagram pages as well.
There you go, there you go, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm always getting tongue-tied. Club members alike, we appreciate you all. This has been our sit down with Steve Bynoe, creator of ATRIUM and Comics Asylum. You'll see all the links to Steve's stuff and his creations in the show description for today's episode, as well as the links popping up on screen. You know where to find me, at Only One Arys and at Who How Club on all social media platforms. It feels good to be back. Feels really good to be back. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in today and joined us. And Steve, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. I have to say that I'm honored to be part of your, I guess, reemergence into this field.
Yes.
And, I had a great time. I hope to do it again sometime.
I actually have something for you. Can you look in that pocket there? That one, yeah. See if they're... I got it. Not that one, no. There's another thing in there. No. There's a badge. You see it? Yeah. So this is my little gift. Welcome to the club, Steve. It's official. So this is our Who How Club. We wear it on our chests, on our hearts, and we represent. So you're an official member as of today, and I feel honored as well to be a part of this, to be able to read, issue number 1, and I'm excited to read the other issues as well. And this whole experience has inspired me, because I used to draw as well, and I want to pick your brain on some stuff, maybe, get some consultation from you and all of that jazz. So
Anytime. And thanks for the pin.
Anytime. So you've been listening to the Who and How Club. You know the slogan. You are the Who and How Club. I am the Who and How Club. And we are the Who's and How's of this world. Without you, without me, there is no we. So while we're here, let's talk. Let's smile. Let's just break bread with one another. Talk shit. Talk about the creations that we, bring to life. And learn from one another. Because what else do we got, man? The world can end tomorrow. might as well just talk to some strangers, right? And build off of that. I'm sure you'll gain something. So we'll check in within a week. And thanks to everyone who tuned in. One. We good?
Absolutely.